just raise your hand.
Oh, it's freezing.
And Jeff, you can kick it off.
Hey, Laura. You just played Angel City a couple weeks ago. In years past, you've played them 3 or 4 times because of the Challenge Cup. This year, you've only gotten to see them once. What was different about them this time from that length of time since you last played them?
Honestly, not too much. I think they have a very clear style of play. I think, they want to possess the ball, but they also have threats higher up the field with pace and power, which we knew about. And I think we played probably 75, 80 minutes brilliantly at their place, and had a slip up early in the game and then turned it around, scoring 3 goals. And then that last, it felt like 20 minutes, they really started to turn it on, and sort of got rid of their identity in regards to playing, and forced it forward quicker than they normally would, and put crosses in the box a lot more than they normally do. So I think we have to be prepared that they may come out a bit more direct against us, and be a little less about their style of play and a little bit more ruthless, getting the ball towards the goal a little bit quicker.
And then you talk about them being direct. Defensively, even with some of the struggles that you've had getting points here in the last couple weeks, defensively you've only given up a few goals. Does it feel like your defense is still playing that principled defensive style that you like to play?
Yes and no. I think this has been the hardest year for us defensively, and a lot of that is personnel. I think we've had to change so much of the backline so much that it's been challenging. And I always say this, the last few weeks we haven't conceded a lot of goals, but we haven't scored one either. So you've got to try and find that hard balance between the two. And I'd take 3-2 wins all week, every week, if it meant that we got 3 points. So I think you have to try and find the healthy balance, and unfortunately the last couple of weeks we haven't been able to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions for Laura? Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Coach. I have 2 quick questions. First of all, what is the status of Jess Fishlock for tomorrow's game? And my second question, you just kind of alluded to it a moment ago, but describe the challenges of having to navigate this season, having used, I think you've used about 28 or 29 different field players because of, injuries and loans and trades and things like that. What have the challenges been navigating through that?
Yeah, I'll answer the Jess one first. Unfortunately, she's not going to make this week either. Disappointed with that. I said at the start, I've said throughout this season a few times, and I'm actually going to change my opinion on it, that I didn't think any year would be as challenging as year 1 in this league. But this probably tops it. And I think for all the reasons that you've identified, I think consistency, creating partnerships, creating habits, creating those things, they're what makes successful teams. And unfortunately, through multiple different reasons, we haven't been able to do that. And when we have, we've won games. So, I think everyone that watches us play and sees us play, there's not been many games this year where I feel like we've been completely outclassed, outmatched. Even in some of the big score lines, I actually felt like we were the better team a lot of the time. I think the last couple of weeks have been challenging in regards to that. I think the performance against Houston wasn't great. The performance against Bay wasn't great. So I think we need to mix it up a little bit. Unfortunately, again, potentially going into Angel City to try and get something out of it. And I think what we have to do is look at who we have now, who we have on the roster, and who can go out and execute depending on opponent and depending on what we're looking for.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Isaac. Jeff, did you have another question?
Yeah, I do.
Go for it.
Both clubs in the last couple years now have taken on very young players, and we've talked a bit about it. Can you talk about how different the league is now to be able to develop those players, especially given how productive Thompson, Adama both have been for you? You were very specific about wanting to develop them at the beginning of the season. Can you talk about their progress so far?
Yeah, I think obviously Ainsley and Jordan coming in later in the year, it is probably like a little different dynamic. I think Jordan is so ready. I think Ainsley's really close to being ready. I think the fact that she goes away to the World Cup with the U17s on Saturday is testament to that. And Emery, I think, we've been mindful of how we've managed her. I think she plays in a position where we could just play her every week and just let her go out and do what she does. But I think when we're in our really tough period, sort of April, May, beginning of June, I'm not going to say motherly instincts because I'm not a mother, but my auntie instincts took over and I wanted to protect her a little bit in that period. So she probably played a little bit less at that time. But I think throughout what you guys get to see on the weekend is just a real small snippet of where the development comes. I think the development comes every single day in training. And then the evaluation is at the weekend, honestly. So I think that I am very passionate about developing the young players. I do think we have a platform now that we can do it a lot better than we used to be able to. And we need to identify how we can continue to do that because, I think this is the future of the league. I think finding young players, getting them in your environment, developing them at different levels and different stages and exposing them to, when they're ready, to the environment of games is the future. So I think we have to be at the forefront of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. And then Isaac, did you have one more?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
You're good? All right, cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.